I have been outright screaming at my television today in these last few days. I do not understand what is going on with William Barr. I don't understand the venom that the Democrats have released on him. I'm just unable to connect these dots. So from what does it matter what William Barr thought of the Mueller report? I mean, I get that he could press charges if he wanted to, that he could indict Trump, but they already decided that wasn't going to be something that they would do. They already decided that it was wrong to do it to Clinton and that they're not going to do it again, that it's too disruptive to the office of president. So that's already off the table. Democrats should know this. They know that that's off the table. It's not going to happen. So I don't understand this venom that's being released on William Barr for essentially giving his summary of a book. And it was a summary they didn't like, but it was a book they could all read. So I just want to imagine if he had not given the press conference, what would be going on here? Because what they seem to be upset about is that he wasn't all that upset about the Mueller report, that he read it and he says, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, no charges and that's it, guys. Nothing to see here. Move on. But here you go. Read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. It'd be one thing if he said, no, you know what, guys, I read it. It's fine. We're not going to press charges. And no, we're not going to release the report. You guys don't need to read it. I could understand being outraged and angry at that, saying, no, the American people deserve the opportunity to read this. But we have to remember that this guy stood up there and said, yeah, you know, this is what I got from it. But here you go. Read it for yourself. So all of these people could read it. And the only opinion that matters is the opinion of the Mueller report. Robert Mueller eventually decided through 448 pages, in the end, he concluded, I do not recommend charges for obstruction of justice, and I don't recommend charges for the coordination with the foreign government, with Russia. So that's the only thing that matters. I'm watching them on the news. I'm watching all these politicians, and they're going after Barr, and they're saying, well, he's a big liar, and he did the spin job on a book you could read. It's like somebody gave you a movie review, but you could go watch the movie for yourself and you're angry because you didn't like the review. I mean, seriously, go watch it for yourself and give your own review. That's the right thing to do. That would be the normal thing to do if you weren't a rabid dog. But it seems like the Republicans went rabid a long time ago, bit the Democrats when Trump got into office, and now the Democrats have become a rabid dog. I mean, this is just absurd what is going on. I'm unable to connect why it matters. And I've been screaming that phrase at my television all day today and all these past few days. Why does it matter? So what? So what? You know, they're, oh, well, you know, Robert Mueller, he said that William Barr didn't really give an accurate representation of the report. So what? Read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. That's all you have to do. Why are you taking any of their words for it? You can read it. You can read it. So I'm not understanding why there is this hysteria and why all eyes have been turned on to Barr. The only thing I can think of is because they didn't get what they wanted out of Trump. They didn't get the indictments. They didn't get that there was coordination. They got something that kind of looks like obstruction of justice. It could maybe be, maybe not be, but that's what Mueller says. He goes, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. There's not enough evidence to indict him. I'm not recommending charges. It's up to you. Do what you want. I'm not going to recommend him, though. So he turns it over to William Barr, and William Barr looks at it and says, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go after the president who appointed me to attorney general. And then they're mad about that. And then they say, oh, well, see, he's proved he's not America's attorney. He's Donald Trump's attorney. Well, let me just remind you when Eric Holder said that I'm Trump's wingman. I mean, that I'm Obama's wingman, that I'm Obama's boy. He's my boy. And, and so I'm not resigning because I'm his wingman. I mean, that's fairly normal. Hate to break it to you. Fairly normal. But could you just imagine if we would have reversed this? Let's just reverse this for a moment and say that this 2-year-long investigation had happened against Obama. And after 2 years, the investigator, who everybody holds in high esteem, who everybody says is a class act and who's a true professional, comes back and says, listen, I did all the investigating. At the end of the day, there's just not enough evidence for me to recommend charges. I'll leave it up to you. I'll let you decide, Attorney General, what you want to do. Here you go. Here's the report. Read it for yourself. The Attorney General then reads the report and says, yeah, you know what, investigator who's a class act, who everybody is holding up as a hero of America, I'm going to go against your lack of recommendation and you saying that you don't really think there's enough evidence, and I'm going to just charge him anyway. People would be screaming. They'd be screaming, saying that that was politicizing the Department of Justice. And yet here we are because Barr says, yeah, okay, you don't see enough evidence to recommend charges. I'm not going to press charges. There's not enough evidence here, because ultimately the obstruction of justice would come down to whether or not Trump had the intent to obstruct justice, and we can't prove that with this evidence. So not going to charge the guy. That's it. And then what did the people say? Oh, that's politicizing the Department of Justice. No. Now, I just want to equate this a little bit and go back to Watergate and Clinton. Okay, so to Nixon and Clinton, when those two, Nixon wasn't impeached, but he was about to be, and Clinton was. And let's just kind of compare these a little bit so that we understand really the lunacy of what's going on here. Nixon, now the Watergate scandal was a real legitimate thing that happened. This was a crime that was committed. So right there, there's a difference. When Mueller investigated Trump and the coordination with Russia, he said, no, there was no crime. We did not see a crime here. On the other hand, with the Watergate scandal, there was a crime. So with Nixon, he then obstructed justice by trying to cover up the crime. And we got the recording on tape of him saying that he wanted to obstruct justice. We have it on tape. It's not hearsay. It's not he said versus she said. It's on tape. So you have two very distinct things that are very different from what's going on here with Trump. With Nixon, it was an actual crime that 100% was absolutely committed. And we have on tape Nixon obstructing justice. That is very different than what happened with Trump. Trump, there is no crime that was committed. And then when it comes to obstruction, you'd have to then prove intent. And there was no tape. There's no smoking gun. Clinton, again, he did have sexual relations with that woman, and he did lie about it. And there was evidence to all of that. So even then, with the crime having been committed and with him absolutely lying about the crime that was committed, they then went and impeached him, and it went nowhere. All it did was strengthen the Democratic Party, actually, against Republicans. It backfired. And again, the difference there is, with Trump, the crime wasn't proven to be committed. So these are huge discrepancies that really need to be taken into consideration when all of these Democrats are screaming impeach, impeach, impeach. And all they're doing is they are harming the 2020 election. Independents are saying that they're not going to vote for Democrats now. I mean, they're harming the election. Independents are saying, I'm not voting for a crazy lunatic Democrat. Look at them. They don't deserve to win. They're crazy. They've gone off the rocker. They won't stop. They're going for blood. And now they're trying to get William Barr for what they claim lying to Congress. Have you read it? Nancy Pelosi stands up there and says, well, he lied and that's a crime. Now they're trying to go after William Barr. Remember, this was about Trump. Remember, this was about Russia. But you couldn't get Trump for Russia, so then you try to get Trump for obstruction. You couldn't get him for that, so now you're going after William Barr? Now you just sound crazy. This is now a witch hunt. So she says that Barr lied to Congress. Did he? Did he, though? Because really what it was he was like, I don't know. When they said, do you know why Mueller was unhappy with your synopsis of the 448-page book, your book review? Do you know why? And he says, not really. I mean, and then the letter comes out from Mueller. It turns out that he received a letter and a phone call. And again, he's like, I don't know. I mean, I still didn't, it didn't seem very clear. I mean, even to me, when I read what Mueller wrote and what was the context of the phone call, apparently, I didn't fully understand what Mueller was upset about. I still don't understand. So that's like, in a relationship, your girlfriend getting mad at you and she tells you, she thinks she told you why she's mad at you and you heard it. You got the phone call, you got the text messages, you heard it. But then when your friend says to you, why is she mad at you? And you're like, I don't know. And then she says, I told you why. That's committing a crime. Now you've perjured yourself. You've lied. You know what I mean? This is crazy. This is getting crazy. I don't expect William Barr to understand the feelings and thoughts of Robert Mueller. And even when Robert Mueller came out with the letter and with the phone call, I still didn't even fully understand what Robert Mueller was upset about. So I mean, how was William Barr supposed to know? And Nancy Pelosi now is trying to say that he committed a crime. I mean, this is just insanity, guys. This is insanity. They're losing the election for 2020 candidates. They don't care. They don't care as long as they look good. They look like the heroes and they get to keep their House seats. And another really big thing to keep in mind is that this is really the political establishment fighting against the Molotov cocktail candidate. Trump was a Molotov cocktail candidate. He was the guy that the American voters voted in, whether you like it or not. He won the election fair and square, fully democratic. He won. Now, whether or not there was meddling or all these other things or whatever, electoral college, whatever you want to kind of point the finger at and blame, fine. But he did win the election. He did. And half of America, yes, short of 3 million votes, but half of America voted for Trump. And remember that most people didn't even vote. So we actually don't know who the more popular candidate was. We really don't, because most people didn't even vote. Most people pretty much said they hated both of them and they didn't like either. But we actually don't know what the people who didn't vote, what they think of Donald Trump or what they think of Hillary Clinton. It could be that actually Trump is more popular to the American people. That's possible, because we'd have to poll literally everybody. We'd have to ask. And it could be that the results would come back like that. People need to remember this. We don't know. But this is just the political establishment. The American people said, we want this person who's non-political, who's never been political in office. And I have to give props to the Republican Party. They did the right thing. They allowed the voters to decide. People are mad. I was reading an article earlier today where they were saying, the Republican Party, how they could allow, this is what they actually think. The Republican Party allowed this person to win. How dare they allow this person who the American people voted for in an act of democracy? How could they have allowed him to be their nominee? So they want the Republican Party to do what the Democrats did to Bernie Sanders. That's what they wanted. That's what they think the right thing should have been, was to keep the political establishment together and not allow this Molotov cocktail candidate. Do you see what's going on here? This is an attack on democracy. This is an attack on an anti-establishment candidate. And if you're a true progressive, you would understand and fight against this. Because what this ultimately will lead to is no other anti-establishment candidate will ever be safe sitting in that White House. Because they will have the full court press of this establishment against them, waiting for their little tiny slip up, a misstep, a wrong word, so that they could say, you lied to Congress, and now we're going to get you out of here. You should be impeached, like what they're doing with William Barr, like what they're trying to do with Trump. I mean, this is insanity. This is insanity, and it's dangerous to our democracy. It is the establishment trying to keep the establishment afloat, and we must fight against that. That is what this is. This is just the establishment keeping themselves in power.